California faced recurring budget deficits even before the Great Recession due to tax cuts. When the Wall Street crash and recession hit California, things got much worse.
People are concerned that this state is going to go off the cliff.
Now this March 15th letter hangs over my head night and day. It is the first thing I think of when I wake up in the morning and the last thing I think of before I fall asleep.
Every year before Prop 30 passed, around March 15th, I would get a layoff notice. And it was really hard because I feel like I'm a highly qualified teacher and I feel like I'm valued at this school and I have a lot to offer. And so to get a layoff notice every year made me feel horrible, and it made me feel like there were students who weren't going to get the benefits of what I have to offer.
This budget deals with the $42 billion deficit, which is the biggest deficit that we've ever had.
It has been a difficult economic situation and drastic cuts to the state budget over the last several years, equaling $20 billion of cuts to education.
We had about 5 years of continuous cuts, teacher layoffs, program reductions, and the school system basically in our district was running on a shoestring.
I declared a state of financial emergency because we had lost 30,000 teachers and 20,000 classified, and the programs, the learning programs, were being dismantled in our schools.
The CFT, standing with its community partners, offered leadership out of the crisis through progressive tax policy.
New polling out by the California Federation of Teachers found overwhelming support, 67%, for a higher tax when it hits anyone making $1 million or more.
Governor Jerry Brown has stopped collecting signatures for his original ballot measure to raise taxes. He's now focusing on a new tax initiative, which is a compromise between his original plan and the tax proposal from the California Federation of Teachers.
Californians overcame decades of anti-tax sentiment and approved the first general tax in 20 years. Proposition 30 passed, raising taxes to help rescue the state's schools.
Proposition 30 corrected a problem for California's state budget. While the richest 1% of Californians' share of income had tripled over 30 years, their income tax rates had gone down. By increasing income tax rates to more fair levels on people who could well afford to pay, we have begun to restore schools and services.
This is what Proposition 30 was all about. This is the greatest consensus for spending that we have in California. It's for education.
Now, 2 years later, we can clearly see the impact of Prop 30 and its successes.
Prop 30 means that teachers don't have to worry about layoff notices. They can just put their focus and time and dedication on the students that they're serving.
When I first began here, we had one daytime custodian who was in charge of doing everything in the school. And then since Prop 30 was passed, all of the elementary schools have been provided with some additional custodial support during the day, which has been really helpful.
The number of teachers increased, the part-timers went to 350 from 200, and there's more students in the class and less waiting time for the students. They used to be giant lines outside the class, and now I haven't had to turn a single student away since Prop 30.
There was input from the teachers, there was input from the community, and they wanted the arts back. And then the money was available, so they hired a number of visual arts and performing teachers. The first, second, and third grade teachers get a release time of approximately 120 minutes for the week. But at the same time, I take over their classes and introduce them to basic art, starting with the elements of art.
One of the things that the district personnel as well as our community realize is that we need opportunities to really service our children who are underperforming. And my position is one of those that came about in the plan.
So we have a lot of English learners here. We have a lot of people who could benefit and do benefit from the intervention for the reading assistance.
I think the parents and the students who are receiving my services are very grateful and very appreciative, realizing that it really is making a positive impact on their learning. However, there's only one of me, and our school has about 420 students, and I'm not necessarily able to reach all the children who may really need the service.
They love it. I mean, they think they should have more time. than they have allotted right now. There's difference. Apparently, it's different at different sites. The amount of time the intervention coach spends with the child. But from the parents I speak to, they want more.
As I travel the state now, talking to teachers and parents and community leaders, I sense new optimism, new hope because of Prop 30 and the great things coming from that investment in our schools. We know we have a long, long way to go, but it's nice to see class sizes getting smaller again. It's nice to see art, music, and drama, civics, and science coming back to our schools after years of cutbacks.
Despite these successes, we have a problem. The governor appears unwilling to consider a Prop 30 extension.
If Prop 30 is not going to be available, well, my job definitely would be affected. And above all, the children who really need it the most, and these are children who usually are underrepresented and underachieved, would not benefit from services that will help them improve in their academics as well as their behavior.
Perhaps the governor is worried that millionaires would leave the state and all the jobs with them if Prop 30 is renewed. This is what Prop 30's opponents said over and over again before the measure passed.
There are more millionaire households in California today than before the recession began. And since 2012, when Proposition 30 passed, California has added 730,000 private sector jobs.
You also hear some people say you can't throw money at the schools. Clearly, that's not what we're doing now. But at one elite private school, where per-student tuition is triple what we spend on students in California public education, we can see what's possible if public schools were supported this well.
I teach science 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. That $38,000 includes in this classroom an iPad for each student, a laptop for each student, 3 different types of microscopes. My classroom budget for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade is right around $10,000 a year. And that includes everything I need academically and everything I need to keep up with the critters that are here.
I believe Prop 30, or something very close to it, needs to be made permanent. It's a disgrace for California, with the great capacity and wealth we have in this state, to be 46 in per pupil spending in the level we invest. I believe when we invest in our schools, we invest in our students, we invest in our futures.
Prop 30 is our bottom line, but we need to build a more fair tax system on its foundation. So take note of Prop 30's successes. Tell parents, students, politicians, and community members about them. Increased school funding is what we need to raise all our students up and create a better future for California.